Yes, I have.
Does your heart race at the thrill of action-packed adventure? Is your soul moved by awe-inspiring beauty? Or do you just love a fun time and a good warm laugh? Then, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, allow me to introduce you to the wonderful world of birding. Yes, birding, known to common folk as bird watching. Many dismiss it as a tame pastime for old retired folk. But I'm here to tell you that this multifaceted hobby encompasses all of the feelings I just described. And as for that misconception that it's dominated by old people, well, okay, fine. So most birders actually are almost twice my age. But that's not the point. You don't have to wait until you're retired to enjoy birding. One of the first things I came to appreciate as I got into birding was the wild imagination and weird sense of humor of birders, especially whoever got to name the birds. Take the green heron, with its bluish-gray wings, rusty maroon breast, and dark blue head. Or the red-tailed hawk, with its bright orange-brown tail. Or I won't forget the first time I spotted a little blue heron with its beautiful, fully white plumage. It's like this weird inside joke between birders. Sometimes they get their colors right though, like the classic bluebird. But what they make up for with accuracy, they lose in terms of lack of originality or foresight. What was that guy's thought process? This bird is blue. I'll call it, wait for it, bluebird. Clever. But then someone at the official bird naming society must have said, sounds great, because I bet we will never, in the history of the world, ever find another bird that is blue. What could go wrong? Some birds are aptly named, like the catbird, whose call, I kid you not, sounds exactly like a cat meowing. I feel like that was a pretty bad call on a bird's part, by the way. You might attract some cat who just wanted to hang out, then all of a sudden, you're lunch. Speaking of unfortunate, there's sometimes a little bit of a cruel humor in bird naming. Take the innocent mourning dove. Was it so named for its gentle coos that rise early with the morning sun? Nope. Someone thought it sounded like it was crying, as in mourning. And now it must carry that fate with it the rest of its days. I suppose it's better than being named the lesser scaup, who I can only imagine is constantly teased by the bird that got to be named the greater scaup. Bird naming is a funny world, and I won't even get into boobies, loons, quits, and tits. But bird call descriptions are just as funny. What sound does an owl make?
Ooh.
Did you know that each species of owl has a unique pattern and melody to its call? Not all whoos are the same. For instance, the barred owl. Birders, with their imaginations, decided that his call pattern sounded like he was saying, "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you?" So remember that owls are nocturnal, so you look for them at night. So you can't really see them while in the dark, so you have to call to them and wait for them to respond. So imagine, if you can, a bunch of birders stumbling around in the dark, going, hoo-hoo, 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 hoo-hoo. You guys try it with me this time. Hoo-hoo, 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 hoo-hoo. You guys are on your way to being great birders already. Now for you adventure seekers, you would love the CBC, Christmas Bird Count. Now this is not the time for singing familiar Christmas carols, snuggling around cozy fireplaces, or celebrating the birth of Lord Jesus. No, this is an intense 24-hour race to identify as many birds as you can. Cities around the world divide themselves into zones. Each zone gets assigned a group of eager birders. They have from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. to identify as many unique species and individual birds as they can count. We start before the sun comes up, listening for owls. Now, this is not for the faint of heart. Do you remember that owls are vicious birds of prey? They're not some cuddly, wise characters who eat Tootsie Roll Pops. And between you and the owl, one of you has night vision and a high vantage point. The other does not. I once had a friend had a barred owl swoop down and snatch the headband right off his head. And if the dangerous wildlife isn't enough to get your heart pumping, then there's the terrain. We plowed through thigh-high brush, descended into rocky creeks, and even explored the backyards of random strangers in their zone. My first CBC, there was a lake in our zone behind an amphitheater. Now it was Sunday, so the gate was closed. But that didn't stop me and my twice-my-age friends from climbing through a hole in the fence. No, not when there were potentially white little blue herons or red and blue green herons to count. We raced back and forth between sites, calling each other, sounding like we were in the Secret Service. We spotted the bald eagle. Repeat, bald eagle has been spotted. Roger that, the falcon has left the nest. CBC has got it all. Camaraderie, competition, rugged terrain, dangerous predators, all in frigid December temperatures and a race against time. But perhaps one of my favorite things about birding is taking a front row seat to the beautiful majesty of God's creation. And you don't have to travel all the way to the tropics for exotic birds to see this. His beauty is everywhere, including right here in our backyard in Georgia. Like the painted bunting, who's clothed in brilliant reds, yellows, blues, and greens. It's as if God used the whole rainbow as his palette. Or the osprey, a picture of power and elegance. His 6-foot wingspan commands respect, and his broad white chest with the strong brown streaks. He soars effortlessly above the water, yet can seamlessly dive in an instant to grab a fish below. Even the grackle, that common blackbird you've no doubt seen by the hundreds perched on telephone wires. But up close, when the light hits, she reveals she's no plain blackbird. Her sweeping bronze tail feathers shimmer, and her glossy chest coat shines with iridescent blues, purples, and greens. The world of birding is much more expansive than most imagine. There's something in there for everyone, no matter the age. So I encourage you to give it a shot. I promise you won't be disappointed. Mr. Toastmaster.